Are you a spokesperson for the...
I'm Yves' father.
Oh. Could you introduce yourself and spell your name, please?
Sure. My name is Gary Engler, E-N-G-L-E-R. I was a longtime journalist, including a short stint at the Montreal Gazette back many years ago. And Yves is my son. I've written a statement because I have very strong emotions about what's going on. The charges against my son are absurd. Even worse, they are, in fact, the only harassment that has taken place in this matter. Yves is the victim of a conspiracy by a self-described media influencer who has repeatedly posted on X that Prime Minister Trudeau is an anti-Semite and a supporter of terrorism, together with a Conservative Party candidate in the upcoming federal election who is running against a Liberal incumbent in a heavily pro-Israel riding. These two fanatic pro-Israel supporters somehow convinced the police to lay charges, despite the fact that the supposed harassment solely took the form of tweets on X, and yet the complainant never took the basic step of blocking Yves. This is a shocking abuse of the legal system.
Amen.
Bianca, Yves' wife, would like to make a statement as well.
Hello. Can I ask you to introduce yourself and spell your name? And maybe if you want to look, the camera's this way.
Hi, my name is Bianca Mageni. I'm Yves' wife and mother of his children, journalist, nonprofit worker, activist, and I live in Montreal. So, I prepared a statement today. I just want to thank everybody also for just coming out here to support Yves. My husband, Yves Engler, is a dedicated author. He's a father of 2 young children. He's an honorable man, and he's currently being detained under charges that we firmly believe are unjust. And his alleged offense stems from expressing his anti-war positions, his anti-genocide stances, and advocating for Palestinian rights on social media. Notably, Yves has never directly contacted his accuser. Rather, he has consistently championed the importance of open dialogue on critical issues such as Zionism and anti-war activism and just foreign policy, and these are public matters that warrant discussion and not repression. His current detention appears to be politically motivated and aimed at silencing dissenting voices. And so we're urging the authorities to recognize the fundamental right to free speech that has been violated in this case and to release Yves immediately. Yves' work includes holding powerful people to account and advocating for peace. Speaking out against war, speaking out against injustice has always been controversial, but we have to discuss difficult issues without fear of imprisonment. And if Yves' rights are violated today, we have to ask whose rights will be next. So we want Yves to be released immediately and this case to be understood as an unjust attempt to criminalize political speech. Thank you.
Can I ask some follow-up questions?
Sure.
Mostly just, how did it feel when you learned that you would have to go into detention be detained for several days, that you wouldn't be able to see your husband over this matter?
Well, it felt terrible for him to essentially be standing up for the rights of Palestinian people, freedom, justice, and to be held against his will. I mean, the first thing that his son said when he heard about this was, "Dad loves being outside. He loves going outside," you know? And he was someone that is very active, needs to move around, and so I just feel terrible both for him and also for the people that are seeing this happen to him. Terrible. Sad.
Yeah, and obviously he has a reputation for bird dogging politicians and you know, being in spaces, opening those doors. How does it feel then for this to be the charge that's thrown at him over tweets, as opposed to you know, some of the actions where he has gone in person, just over tweets?
Well, it just feels very politically motivated, very, very politically motivated and suspect, and also just that it feels like a very serious attack on free speech, and specifically the ability to talk about Zionism, to talk about anti-war activism, to talk about anti-Palestinian racism. It feels very targeted.
Do you know any details about his conditions in Bordeaux? He was taken in on Thursday, as I understand it. Has not left Bordeaux. He spent 4 nights there.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any of the conditions? Has his family been able to communicate with him? Has his legal advocate been able to communicate with him?
No one has been able to communicate with him. He hasn't been given any phone calls. His lawyer hasn't been able to communicate with him. It's been complete silence. We've been making these requests and they have been denied. We haven't heard from or spoken to Yves since he was imprisoned.
When he made his court appearance, I believe on Thursday, he went to the police station on the offset on Thursday.
Yes.
He had a bail hearing on Friday,
yes.
Or some sort of hearing.
Yeah.
I understand that was by video.
Yes, although I wasn't here. I was actually returning from abroad. I actually came home to find that my husband had been taken, so someone else might have more details about that event because I wasn't there. But that is my understanding. Yeah. So I just want to say that people don't have to agree with Yves' opinions. That's not really the matter at hand. But I think we do have to agree on the right for people to dissent, to have political opinions, and for the need to protect free speech.
Yeah, even if those, you know, like obviously the matter at hand is him calling somebody a genocidaire, a fascist. Why is it important for that to be included in those free speech protections?
I mean, I think it's important for people to be able to comment on the public, on the comments of public officials, on the comments of people who are making loud public statements. We have to be able to comment upon those as part of political discourse and discussion. Like, debate has to be allowed to happen. It can't be criminalized.
I understand that there's been considerable international interest. Can you describe to me some of the interest that's come from the United States, specifically free speech advocates in Europe, in Africa, basically all over the planet? They're looking at Canada, they're looking at Montreal, they're looking at Quebec, and they're saying, what the F?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is a really big shame. I think this is really embarrassing for the Quebec police. I think it's also very important for people to understand and to be looking at international law and the importance of opposing what we understand as a genocide that's happening. And if people are not allowed to speak up and to engage in discussion around anti-war activism, and to also, you know, basically call for us to uphold the Geneva Convention. I mean, it is an international embarrassment. This is not just embarrassing for Montreal; it's embarrassing for the country and for the democratic values that we hold so dear.
Last question: are you seeking any, or are you considering seeking any legal recourse against what's been done to your husband and to your family?
Yeah, I can't answer that at this point. Partially because there's been so little communication with Yves. I don't have an answer to that question. Right now, we just want him to be released immediately.
Thank you.
Can I ask you to state your full name and introduce yourself?
My name is John Philpott, and I'm Yves' attorney, and the previous speakers, Derek and Bianca, have said many useful things, appropriate things about this. There's one thing which really is important, is that the International Court of Justice rendered a decision saying there's plausible genocide. As you see, I have gray hair. We grew up saying never again, and yet we cannot talk about it, and they're trying to prevent him from talking about this.
It's okay, you can take a moment to turn off your phone. You can go over and take a moment.
And so the International Court of Justice has said it's plausible genocide, and furthermore, on the 19th of July, they rendered an advisory opinion on the Palestinian situation, the occupation. They used the term occupation. And at the end of the judgment, they required all countries in the world to actively oppose Zionism. Now, to oppose Zionism, and that imposes upon Canada, Canadian institutions, the Canadian police, to actively oppose Zionism. This woman appears to be publishing hate literature, which is a crime under Section 319 of the Criminal Code, and Yves has never published anti-Semitic material. So it's kind of like topsy-turvy, upside down. Le monde à l'envers actuellement, une personne qui est promue par le candidat avocat Neil Oberman, candidat dans Ville-Montréal, responsable pour ces accusations, il y a 2 mois, le 18 décembre je pense, et maintenant on attend jusqu'au 18 février. C'est quoi le danger pour Dalia Kurtz? Moi je ne vois pas ça comme ça. Aujourd'hui, comme avocat, je vous dis, l'enjeu c'est est-ce qu'il peut en parler dans le domaine public, y compris les réseaux sociaux. Il y a une élection qui approche. Maître Oberman va être candidat. Est-ce que Yves peut assister aux rencontres publiques de M. Oberman et parler de son abus, de faire les accusations contre lui et contre d'autres, parce que c'est lui qui a cité aussi des injonctions.
Could you repeat that in English, that last bit about what is at stake, the condition that's at stake?
Well, at stake today are the bail conditions. He'd be out if he accepted the conditions. He'd be out. He would have been out on Friday or Thursday. He does not accept not to talk about these issues in public. Forget the police issue, woman. That's another issue. Dalia Kurtz should be charged, probably, I think, with under hate legislation. She publishes anti-Palestinian, anti-Hamas in her Twitter. She says she has 6 million followers, or someone said 30 million. I don't know, but the issue is an election coming up. We're pretty concerned about the election. We all are. We don't know what's going to happen. We've seen the election in the States. Mr. Oberman, Attorney Oberman, who pushed the charges 2 months ago against Yves, although he was arrested last week, is a candidate. Can Yves go there to his rallies and say, Mr. Oberman, why are you laying charges against me based on racist comments or pro-Zionist comments or pro-occupation comments by Dalia Kurtz? The answer is he must be allowed to do that because it's a public debate. And by the way, the entire world, most of the world agrees with what Yves saying. In Canada, it's a more of a live debate. So.
Yeah, and you know, why do you think the prosecutor sought to impose this charge against speaking to the media?
I think it came from the police, and I would like to hope that the prosecutor didn't think about it properly. We're going to meet them today and try and convince them to do otherwise. If not, we're going to go before the court. We're going to explain to the court the issues which I have summarily outlined to you, and we hope that the court will rule in our favor. And we must respect the legal system which we are in and ask the court to rule on his release, and ultimately there'll be a trial about all these issues, and we will see the best way to resolve it so that Yves is not guilty of a crime. Thank you.
One question. Yves is an author. He's written 15 or so books.
13 books.
13. And he's something of a journalist. And he basically, what he did was he published, his own opinion on his own media. To what extent do you think press freedom is under attack by what is happening?
Well, of course, the freedom of expression, the freedom to publicly talk about these issues is under attack. This is the heart of the issue, and all across Canada for the last year and a half, in our consultations, people have been accused of and alleged of committing hate against Jews. People from the independent Jewish voices are accused of being anti-Semite, are they not? That's what I understand. So it's time for us to have an open debate and not sit back and have our be muzzled. Thank you. I know. Yeah, 2 calls from Bordeaux. I asked to speak to them yesterday. They said there's no calls today on Saturday. Yves couldn't contact me and was going to be in court today, so I don't know whether...
You haven't seen him?
No, I haven't been able to see him.
At all?
I saw him I talked to him on Friday.
Via video?
Yeah.
And
I talked to him on the phone.
Okay.
But since then, I wanted to speak to him, and he hasn't been able to call me. So I have some things to discuss with him about his hearing today, and I haven't had a chance to do so yet.
Okay. Thank you.